This video is all about the Chameleon 3 e-collar by Martin System. We're going to go over the functions and features of this collar, troubleshooting, basic anatomy, stuff like that. So we start with just how the collar is built and then we'll go into how it works. You have different islands here, and this main area here has actually got the transformer in it, and this is the one that talks to your remote and your finger kick, and it measures the resistance. So it has a continuous output, and it measures the resistance that regulates what your dog is feeling, which is awesome because whether your dog is wet or dry or whatever, this will adjust according to the resistance that it measures, and your dog's sensation will be the same across the board, which is a unique thing about this collar. So these islands here, they have been painted and denoted for you. The red and the black islands, you need at least one contact point on a red island and at least one contact point on a black island to close the circuit for this to operate. If you only have them on red islands, you're not going to get anything. If you only have them on black islands, you're not going to get anything. So the way that you do that, you can put as many contact points on this collar as you'd like, which is great too, because if you have a dog who's very sensitive, you can add more contact points and it actually diffuses the stim. Lucky has something to say about that. It actually diffuses the stim and makes it feel softer for that dog. So if I had an extremely sensitive dog, I could put contact points every single place that one of these plastic screws is. Just use a regular flathead screwdriver here, and you can take these screws out. Watch out, they have a tiny washer. The screws need these tiny washers. These do not. By the way, I can put a black contact point on a red island. That doesn't matter whatsoever, as long as there is something on red and something on black. It's just kind of nice visually to have the two. So if this is going to really drive me crazy. There, let's mess with my OCD and put a black and a red one on a red island. Woo! But you can do stuff like that, and you can put as many contact points as you want and diffuse the stim as much as you want if you have an extremely sensitive dog. Conversely, if you have a dog who's not sensitive at all, you're going to want to, there's multiple types of contact points here. This is the new one, it's rounded. It is actually a much softer sensation than the old contact points, which I believe I have here, maybe not, that have a little bit more of a sharper edge to them. They're squared off a little bit. So if you have a dog who's not sensitive, you kind of want to go away from the rounded tip and more towards the square tip, or use these feathers. The smaller the surface area, the more intense the stim is going to feel. So having just feathers on there is going to be pretty intense, and you can use lower levels with your dog if your dog is not sensitive to the stimulation at all. So that's one strategy to troubleshoot around that. If your dog has been training with me, I've already figured out for you what is appropriate for them, but that explains how that works there. If you want to move contact points around and you need to put this back, the plastic screw back, make sure you have this washer. It prevents the screw from going in too far, and you're just going to turn it. Well, I would if it would be balanced. There. So we're just going to turn it and put it back in there. It's very easy that way. I'm going to show you how the feathers are put in as well. Oop. It's hard to do this vertically. There we go. You will have extras of these. All right. These are intended. You don't need a wrench or anything for this. These are intended to be hand tightened, hand screwed, which of course means that every time you pick up your collar, before you put it on your dog, you need to make sure that these are tight. Okay. They're intended to be hand tightened and hand loosened. So they will work themselves a little bit loose if they're left alone too long. So it just needs to become a habit of yours to make sure that your contact points like this are tight. You've got your feather here. You've got your feather here. And you're going to notice that there's also a washer in there as well. So you need to have the washer in there, and then this is connected. This is pushed over here, and the screw goes through that loop and through the washer, and then you tighten it there. Okay, you do that on both sides of your feathers. Just like that. All right. So that's how you move those around. That's how this works. Be aware of making sure that you have enough contact points to close your circuit, and that's how that works. This is intentionally built to be curved to your dog's neck, so something you should definitely avoid doing is bending it back like this. You want to let it just be relaxed like this when you store it. But that's your collar. We're going to go over the different forms and functions and some troubleshooting with the lights and how this collar actually communicates things to you next. All right, so we can start with how your collar operates and how it talks to you. The primary way that your collar is going to talk to you is through lights, but it uses sound as well. So you have a feature on your whatever remote that we have you on. I'm going to use the Tiny Trainer since almost everybody's going to have one of these. And with this, you can change whether or not this stims, vibrates, or has tone. We'll go over that in a little bit in the remote control video. But you can turn your collar on and off with just about any kind of magnet. About 5 seconds ago, there's a magnet on this, and I accidentally turned it on with this. So all you need to know is where this red button is where the magnet on the collar is. The magnet that comes in your charging kit, in your case, or the magnet on your Tiny Trainer, which is denoted by the red button here. All you have to do is just touch it on there. When it's turning on, it makes a rising tone, da-da-da, and it also blinks. If it's turning off, it makes a descending tone. If you hover, that does something else. You want to make sure that you're just wiping by. You don't want to hover here with the magnet near the magnet in the collar, okay? What it also does is it'll tell you with the lights that it's on as well. So you'll start to see these dancing lights. It's actually rotating through the collar like this. So there's different things that these lights are telling you. If, when you turn your collar on, there's a delay in the rising tone and you see it blink a couple times, that's how it tells you that the battery is low. So you see that this is pretty immediate, and there are 2 lights that shown there for a moment. Okay? If you don't hear the tone right away and instead you see the 2 lights go boop, boop, and then it turns on, da, 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 that's how it tells you, the collar tells you that he needs to be charged. Okay? The next thing you're gonna see is once it's on, we're gonna have the contact measurement feature. These are dancing lights that are rotating around the collar to tell you that as of right now, I don't have a closed circuit. I'm not contacting the dog's skin or your own. You can test that it's operational by closing the circuit. You have to have at least 1 black and 1 red island being touched. All right, so 2 red islands doesn't work. 2 black islands doesn't work, but you can do 1 red and 1 black. I could do it this way. I could do it 1 on each side. So this is a black island and this is a red island. So that closes the circuit. The collar will now work. The dog would feel it, okay? So you can tell that that's turned off. It's now turned on. It's turned off. That feature only lasts for about 2 minutes. So if you feel like you may have lost contact with on your dog's skin while you're operating the collar and while you're training him, you're gonna have to go in and turn the collar off and turn it back on while the dog's wearing it to see whether or not you have contact. This isn't gonna work for hours and hours while your dog's wearing the collar. So, but this does operate for the first few minutes so that you can make sure that you fitted the collar correctly. So that's one way that your collar talks to you as well. We already went over the low battery. So the next thing is pairing mode. If you accidentally do hover over this, your collar's gonna start to freak out a little bit. There. That's pairing mode. So now this collar is looking to be paired by another remote. These collars can be paired by up to 4 remotes. You only have 1, so you don't have to worry about it. If this happens and he starts dancing like that, so he's still paired to this. If this happens and he starts dancing like that, all you have to do is press your stim button, the blue button on your Tiny Trainer, or press the button on your finger kick if you're sure and confident that this is paired, okay? And of course you have the light that tells you that you're stimming. So we know that this is paired. I know that this is paired. When you're checking this, you wanna make sure that you keep your remote fairly far away. If it's too close, sometimes it interferes with itself and it doesn't work. So you'll think that they're not paired, but they still will be. So you wanna remove your remote at least a couple feet away, but the finger kick can be close when you test it. It's okay. So that's the main features of the collar. And if you have any troubleshooting issues with the collar itself, if you feel like it's not operating correctly, go ahead and give me a call, send me an email, do something like that, and I will help you, okay?